I read a book called Conscious Capitalism. The idea is that a normal business or standard business is there to increase the shareholders' value, basically make the owner of the business rich. And the conscious business does not only do good by the shareholder, it also does good by all stakeholders, meaning suppliers, customers, employees, everything the business touches, it brings benefit to. And he makes the point in the book that these businesses are A, more profitable, and B, are the best vehicle to have a positive impact in the world.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Speak. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer. It is my pleasure to have David Henzel with us. David is the CEO of LoveNotFear.com. He leads a portfolio of businesses with over 500 employees. He was the founder of MaxCDN, which he sold in 2016. He founded UpCoach, a SaaS platform with 6,000 coaches on it. He owns the white label marketing agency Shortlist.io. Also owns LTV Plus, which offers customer support outsourcing and has 350 employees. And TaskDrive, which is an AI-powered virtual assistant service. With 25 years of experience, he helps individuals make decisions out of love and assists companies in fostering cultures driven by love, not fear. His Managing Happiness program guides participants towards personal and professional growth. David, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Steph. The pleasure is mine.
Yeah, it's always a joy to have a conversation with you. We met, I don't know, some years ago. Maybe it was as much as a decade ago now. I don't know. Was it Affiliate Summit?
Affiliate Summit or Traffic and Conversion, or I don't know, somewhere in the marketing conference realm, cloud.
And you've been on my other podcast on Get Yourself Optimized. That was about 4 years ago now. Episode 257. That was a really fun episode. Talked about some of the stuff we'll touch on in this episode too, like your course, Managing Happiness and so forth. But I really want to get into some of the marketing and business type stuff that we didn't get a chance to delve into in that episode on Get Yourself Optimized, and cover that in this episode here. So I'd love to start with your origin story, how you went from, maybe a kid with entrepreneurial ambitions, or just, had some lemonade stand or whatever it was as a kid. And now you've got this portfolio of companies, you've had successful exits, you're a very successful serial entrepreneur. How did you get from there to here?
Well, I was a real trouble student. I went to 14 different schools. I got kicked out everywhere. So I was not really made for authority. My parents also raised me without authority. I think this had something to do with this. And at some point I was really lost. I dropped out of school when I was 15. And a friend of mine, I'll just be very, very transparent. A friend of mine was selling illegal substances in Germany, and we had a lot of substances and a lot of money to do this. And I thought, who works a normal job must be absolutely crazy. So I dropped out and I lived very wild years in my teenage years. And with 19, I decided this is not really fun. This can't be everything in life. And I was kind of lost and depressed and didn't know, not really depressed, but lost. Didn't know what to do with my life. And another friend of mine came to me and said, hey man, you're good with computers. How about we start a business together? And then I found entrepreneurship, and this was the shining light at the end of the tunnel, because I could do what I wanted to do. Nobody told me what I have to do. And this was really my thing. I think also kind of tying this back to Love Not Fear, I really disliked school because it was always fear-driven. You have to do this or you get bad grades or whatever. It was never coming from a place of love. And I love learning, but kind of the stuff that I want to learn. But yeah, so we started this company maintaining in-house servers. This kind of dates me back in the day when servers were still in the basement of a company. I was a Linux system and network engineer. And then I went into the e-com space because one of our customers had an e-com business and had the largest hookah shisha manufacturer in Europe. Later on, he really pushed me to start an e-commerce business to help him because he had no idea about the tech stuff. And we partnered up, and this really blew up. But at some point, I was really bored of it, and I saw what was going on in America in terms of the startup ecosystem. And in the early 2000s, there was nothing in Germany, especially where I lived. It was was desert. And I was really drawn to the States. So I sold my business in Germany, which gave me the money for the investor visa to move to the United States. And there we co-founded MaxCDN. And yeah, I guess I can. It's like my beginning entrepreneurial journey. I can tell you the whole one, but or I can stop there.
Okay, well, before you go on to the next phase of that journey, how did you find your co-founder?
I mean, first my co-founder was just a friend who came to me and said like, "Hey man, you want to do this together?" And so it kind of always happens serendipitously. And I have lots of co-founders because I have like a portfolio of businesses. And I guess my 2 cents or tip like for finding a co-founder for me is how you do one thing is how you do everything. I kind of look at like how people, if somebody treats people bad here, he's also going to treat people bad here. If he's sloppy here, he's going to be sloppy there. With co-founders, one interesting story, we had like a co-founder at MaxCDN who started having an affair with his wife's best friend. And then they had like this crazy divorce battle, and they froze each other's asses and completely destroyed each other. And then he started stealing money from the company, or like let's say, yeah. And we found out, or our accountant found out, and we kicked him out of the company. And took a really sad turn for him. But not to want to get into this, but kind of having this experience, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. If somebody would cheat on their spouse, they'll like happily cheat on you as well in business. So this like was our takeaway. And later we had like the perfect CTO we found for the business. It was like really like on paper like absolutely amazing. We also got really got along with him really well, fun dude. And then we had everything almost set up. We just, like I said, okay, come to LA, we'll hang out a little bit and then finalize the documents and sign the papers. And he comes to my business partner's house with a woman and says like, "Oh, this is my mistress." And we're like, "Dude, seriously?" Like, deal done. Yeah, we just like stopped it there. So I guess like this has been treating me really well to kind of like look through this lens, like how you do one thing is how you do everything, by judging character of people that I'm working with.
Yeah. So if somebody that you go out to dinner with is rude to the waitress, then that's a very big warning sign that they're out of integrity in other areas of their life too.
Correct. There's like Zappos, I think they did this when they hired somebody. They flew the person in, picked them up from the airport, and then everybody in the company interviewed them. And if everybody said yes, okay, we want to hire this guy, they asked the driver how nice this person was to the driver, and if he was a dick to the driver, then they didn't hire him. It's kind of like a integrity check.
Good tip. Yeah. So what happened in the next chapter? You had this challenge with co-founder of MaxCDN. How did you get through that? How did you end up selling the company and then get into all these other companies that you are running currently?
So we figured out we bought him out of the company. We left him a small percentage and got him out that way. And then we just continued to grow the company. And at some point, actually, my wife went through breast cancer, and this was like a big wake up moment for me, where I imagined myself on my deathbed, looking back at my life, thinking, did I really do what I was supposed to do? Did I have the impact I want to have? And made me like question everything. And I want to do something with more impact. And this is also why I decided to like ask my business partners, like, "Hey guys, I'd be down to sell. What do you think about this?" And then also things fell into place very nicely to sell the company. And then I went on this journey to figure out like what can I do to have more impact. And initially the idea was to start managing happiness, which also you went through the course with me. The idea is to run your life the same way you run a successful business. I had this epiphany when I came home from a long meeting about the roles and responsibilities at MaxCDN, and I was sitting on the couch super tired, and our daughter Emma had a full diaper, and I said like, "Hey honey, look, Emma has a full diaper." My wife got really upset that I told her what how she received this. I told her to change the diaper, which was not my intention. And I thought, like, why do we fight about this right now? And then I had this epiphany that we never talked about roles and responsibilities in the household. And the next morning we sat down, we spelled those out. What do I expect of her, and vice versa? And this took away 80% of the friction we had in our relationship. And I thought, like, if this works so well, maybe we take other elements of business and apply to our personal life, like having regular meetings, having core values, having a mission and vision, and shared to-do system, etc. All the stuff we do in business in our personal life, and this worked really well. And so we turned this into a course for how to apply this to your business, to your family life. And then this morphed into, I guess, a course for self-leadership, for the people who are in the leadership teams of my businesses. I had them do it because how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you run your business, your life like a business, it's easier to run the business, because I guess how you do one thing is how you do everything. Yeah, and this was after we sold MaxCDN. We moved to Turkey. I live in Bodrum, Turkey now, because my mother passed away, and this was really tough for my wife. And she wanted to be closer to family. She wanted to go back to Germany. I could not do German weather again, so we moved to Bodrum, kind of being somewhat close to Germany but warm. And very happy here. And I read the book called Conscious Capitalism. The idea is that a normal business or standard business is there to increase the shareholders' value, basically make the owner of the business rich. And the conscious business does not only do good by the shareholder, it also does good by all stakeholders, meaning suppliers, customers, employees, everything the business touches, it brings benefit to. And he makes the point in the book that these businesses are A, more profitable, and B, are the best vehicle to have a positive impact in the world. And I was like, ooh, I can go back to muscle memory, running businesses, because I'm decently good at, and have a positive impact. That's why I want to start a BPO, business process outsourcing business, aka LTV Plus, to give lots of people a good job and a good working environment. And yeah, this was the next stage in life. I've been running this for a few years. Then we bought Task Drive, and then I got more into managing happiness to scale this. And initially it was a DIY course, and it really bugged me that only 7% of people who bought the course completed the course. And I thought, like, it must be because my course is not good, but it's actually a decent completion rate for a DIY course. And then I thought, like, how can I really get this to the point that people complete this? Because I was doing this more for impact than for money. And putting people together in a cohort and kind of doing this meeting once a week, turn this around. Like, now I have a 93% completion rate, so completely flipped on its head. But it was a lot of work, and so I need a tool to do this better. And so we started building one, and this ended up being UpCoach. And yeah.
So that's your SaaS platform, and it helps not just coach in the personal development space, but anybody who's offering one-to-one or one-to-many coaching services across all industries, right?
Correct. Also, we use it inside of our companies to train your to do your level, in case you're familiar with the US, to do your level 10 meetings or your meeting agendas and training courses for people and all this stuff. It's we use it for in all of my companies to run and manage the companies. For our meeting notes, for our agendas, for courses and training for people. And we also, with Love Not Fear, which is my current main focus, we also give the software to companies so they can run their companies better. It's part of the game.
So how did Love Not Fear come about?
So I'm a recovering introvert, kind of being, you can still see my nerd glasses. I was a very nerdy computer geek and super shy. And this was really holding me back in life and in business. I was like uncomfortable running a meeting with my own team, or being on a conference call with a customer was like absolute terror for me. Or like I would have never gone on a podcast. And then a mutual friend of ours, Sayed Baki, who's one of my best friends, he I met him at, oh my god, I think back then it was called Blog World, back WordPress, old school.
Blog World, yeah, I've spoken in that was a long time ago.
Yes, a long time ago. Yeah, it's maybe 2009 or 2010 or something like this. And so he was keynote speaking there, and like he was networking like a crazy person. And I saw how much fun he had doing this and how good this was for his business. I was like, I want this too, but how do you do this being an introverted nerd? So I did Toastmasters twice a week. It's like public speaking classes, even though it was like very painful. And I did networking events two a week, and I talked to everybody that was there, even though it was like super painful. I was like, okay, let's go. And this helped me with my shyness. But the real transformation happened when my yoga teacher told me that every decision in life you either make out of love or out of fear. It's like the basic emotions why we do everything that we're doing. And this was like such a aha moment for me, because if I'm, when I being in a podcast or speaking, I always like thinking about me, being in a state of fear, and then I can't present because I think like, oh, do they think I look weird? Do they think I say stupid things? Do they think I have a weird German accent or whatever? And then if I'm in the state, I can't present. But if I'm coming from a place of love and thinking what I'm sharing, it can help them in their life and their business, become super easy. Or selling, I hated sales. I only sold because we're a startup and we have to sell or we die. But if I think like, hey, what I'm selling here can specifically help you and make your life or your business better, I can even be a pushy sales guy. So like, Stephan, do it, freaking buy this, it's gonna help you so much, please check it out. And this changed so much for me. So I became really obsessed with sharing this with people and helping them to understand this concept, and also with managing happiness. Because I'm a firm believer that if you manage your life properly, if you know what you want, if you have your habits in check, you eat right, you sleep right, you exercise, you do the right things in life, it's much easier to act out of love and not out of fear. So it's like one component of it, and the other component is like to create good cultures in companies, so people do the job out of love and not out of fear. So I think that's like the main focus for me, and it's quite magical what happens if you create these cultures, and set up properly. How much think about yourself. If you do a task out of fear, it's always like the result's always like mediocre. Whereas if you do it out of love because you're excited about this, and with like a methodology or framework to create these cultures and businesses.
That's cool. And so what's your business model for Love Not Fear?
So it's pretty vast. We're currently doing so one is managing happiness, which I guess is currently the flagship offering, by having people go through the process with the teams, or first the leaders go through, and then usually they or the HR team does the cohorts with people inside of the team, to help them to understand this concept. So this is one element, like kind of help the individual to be better. And the other element is to help people to create a better culture. For example, creating a sexy mission and vision. Kind of like, even if you're in an unsexy business, you can kind of create a sexy mission and vision that people are excited to work at this company. For example, a Time Doctor. And Time Doctor is a time tracking software. And if their vision would be to become the number one time tracking software in the world, probably zero of his employees would be excited about this, because like, who cares about time tracking? But their vision is to lead the remote work revolution. And he has like hundreds of 150, 200 employees. Everybody's like super excited about this. They wrote a book about this called Running Remote. They have the largest company about working remote, the largest conference about running remote companies called Running Remote. And like everybody's like super gung ho about this. So I think like it's kind of foundationally, like, how do you do that? Also, we help people to understand how to hire better. For example, one tip, maybe you can take this away. When we do a job posting, it's not just like a piece of text. We have the person who's the hiring manager, who's basically who you're going to work with, will record a video explaining what the job entails, and also talking about our mission and vision and core values. Because then we want to repel people that are not a good fit and drag the people in who are a good fit. For example, if you see a video of me, it's like you can see like, okay, I kind of like that guy. I could work with him. Like, oh no, this dude's crazy. I don't want nothing to do with him. So we kind of like do the filtering, or sharing the core values. For example, at MaxCDN, we had a core value which was build cool. And because we want to attract engineering nerds who want to build cool, but we also want to repel people who want to come to work with a suit and tie on, because they would not work for a company who has the word shit in their core values. So kind of like do this early filtering, and then kind of like how to really get the idea of core values into people's heads. Like we at the last page of the contract that people sign with us, there's the core values are listed there, and people initial next to each core value, and below is like, if I'm not living up to those, I will not have a place at this company. Or another process, once a month we have a meeting with everybody who was hired that month, and we tell them core value stories and explain our mission and vision to kind of really make people understand what, yeah, what it means to live our core values, to kind of create this good culture.
That's awesome. And so, what's the recipe for a great culture? How do you build that culture? If somebody's not familiar with, let's say, Zappos and how they built culture or anything like that, they're just starting from zero. Where do they start? How do they get to having that kind of culture that you're talking about?
I think understanding like good culture for me means trust. If people trust each other, then I think it's like it's you already have won half the battle. And one really cool exercise you can do is the lifeline exercise. I have this from EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization. This is why they do this. So the idea is you share with your team the highs and lows in your life. And we also build a tool for this in UpCoach. You basically enter your birthday, and then it plots your life, kind of from zero where you're born, and for me it's like 47 where I'm now, and then I can set points at certain ages. Like this was a high and this was a low in my life. For example, the death of my father when I was 12, or the birth of my daughter, or selling a business, etc. And sharing this, because then people really take off the mask and show like, hey, this is me. And so we ask people to share for 20 minutes. And then after the sharing is done, we do going around the room. People share shared experiences. For example, like, oh yeah, I had a drug phase as well in my life. I lost my father when I was young, etc., etc. Like my girlfriend also cheated on me, etc. So people take off the mask and really connect on a deeper level. And it's not just like this surface level thingy. And it's really magical what happens when you do this with people. It brings you so much closer. And once we've done this together, it's easy for you to be criticized by me, and you can also criticize me more, because it's just like, you see yourself for the other human being. Another thing we do is we teach people how to communicate in like non-violent communication, because at the end of the day, everything's kind of how you communicate with each other. There's one thing that my mother always said, which is be hard in the case but soft with the person. For example, if you'd be always late, I'd never be upset at you or yell at you. I'd take you aside and say like, hey, Stephan, I really appreciate you. You do really good work here, there, but this late coming business, this has to stop because of XYZ reasons. And I'm here to help you to fix the reasons why you're late. But if you can't fix this, then we can't work together anymore, and I have to let you go. So I'm like very soft with the person, but hard in the case. Basically telling you like, dude, you gotta fix this, or I'll fire you. But that I appreciate you for XYZ, and that I'm here to help you to solve this. Yeah, and a bunch more things like on the communication level, how you can have better communication, because I think this like communication issues are the main reasons why there's problems in businesses. And once you have this good culture, I love to introduce the error log that we have in Managing Happiness for ourselves, but also in all of my businesses. And the idea is that every time we mess up, we add it to the error log, and the error log consists of like when it happened, which customer was affected, or like what happened, who reported, who's responsible, and most importantly, what happened, and then how can we make sure this never happens again? Because the idea is like, you're not going to trouble with me if you mess up, but you get into real trouble with me if you do not add it to the error log. Because if we have it there and we can like talk about this, then we're like a self-healing machine, and we just kind of work out the kinks and the bugs that we have in our system. But you need the trust to be, and the good culture, so we can say like, hey, I screwed up, like this is what happened. And in a bad culture, people just like sweep it under the rug, and just like creates like way more damage than when you're transparent about this.
And so what are some of the other maybe unique aspects of how you run and grow businesses besides the error log that you would like to recommend to our listener?
So one thing that works like a charm at UpCoach in the development process, you can also apply ideas from this to other business, or even if you're not a development, if you don't develop a product, or that you're not a dev shop, it still works. So At UpCoach, we had the traditional development process before. So the product manager kind of picks which feature we're going to work on. The designer designs it, and then we tell you, hey, developer A, you built this thing. Developer B, you built this feature. And then the developers take their spec and kind of go into their little dark corner and kind of like code it together, and then they bring it back. And then marketing announces it to the customers, and then customer support deals with the issues. So it's like silo, 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 silo. Everybody's like a small wheel in the machine. So we changed this. We first of all, we had everybody do customer support, and first people hated me, but with AI, you can kind of make it easy to. It's not that hard, but we want everybody to understand what are the pain points that are coming up. People first thought like, oh, developers' time is way too precious for this, but the idea is that everybody really understands how the product works and what the customer pain points are. Because then we can just we create a pool of ideas that people can work on, kind of like very low spec items. And then every developer can pick the one that they think is cool to develop. And they have to think way more to spec out the feature, but they can do it because now they really understand the product. And then they're not giving it to marketing to announce it. They announce it in a user community. So, developer, let's say Stephan has built this, and then he kind of posted in the forum saying like, hey guys, I built this new feature, it does XYZ. Because then they have like way more ownership over the product because they have to present it as well, but they also get to present it because then they also get the pat in the back saying like, hey dude, thank you for building this. And they get like the instant feedback of people like, yeah, I love it, this is great. Or like, oh, why didn't you think about this? And so, and by doing this, we increased our output by 300%. It's like absolutely crazy. 300% more product shipped. And another thing, and we also broke it down into small, medium, and large issues. And if it's a small, and we allocated certain time budgets for it. So before, developers always gave a spec to it, like I think this is going to take X, that long, but not just SML, and they have a certain amount of time for this. And then it forces them to make fast decisions. And employee happiness went through the roof. We did a survey with Rethink Culture, and they said like they never had such a good rating from a company, and productivity also went through the roof. So everybody was winning from this. Another thing that we did that had a massive impact was changing up our development cycle at UpCoach. And even if you don't develop product, you can still take some ideas away from this. So initially, we had the traditional way of like head of product is figuring out like which product has to be built, and he's speccing it out. And then he tells, developer A, you do this, developer B, you do that, and developer C, you do that. And then they go into their dark corners and like code it up, and then they bring it back. And then marketing announces it, and customer support takes care of the customer support questions. So it's very siloed, and everybody's like a small wheel in the machine. And what we changed up is that first of all, we had everybody do customer support. People were not super happy about this initially, but with AI, it's not that hard to do customer support. But the idea is that when you do customer support, you really understand how the product works, and you understand what the pain points are that customers are having. So, and then our head of product did not spec things out to the T. Before it was like almost like painting in the colors, like one is green, two is blue. Now the developers really have to think how they're going to build the feature, but they also can do this because they understand how the product works and what the pain points are. So we create a pool of ideas that they can pick from. So we have like this we call it the pool actually, where every developer can pick which feature they want to develop. And then they pick these features, and they have to think way more about how to build them, but they can do this because they have the knowledge of the product now. And then once they've built it, they do not give it to marketing. They announce it in our user community on what they've built, because now they have way more ownership over what they're building. They're not just a small wheel in the machine. And they also get the praise for building it. They get the instant feedback when they release, like, hey, I just built this feature. And then the customer's like, that's amazing. Like, why didn't you do this? Or like, how does this work? So it's like, it's way more connected. It's not like living in silos anymore. And we actually had 300% more output by doing this. Our users went crazy over it. And we also measured the employee happiness with something called Rethink Culture. And the owner of the business reached out to me and said like, hey, how do you do this? We never had such a high employee satisfaction rating for any company. So yeah, maybe you can take some ideas away from your business, but for us, it really revolutionized how we ship product and how fast we ship it and how happy employees are by being, people can bring in their whole being, their whole skills, and they're not just like order takers. They have ownership over something and they see the change that they're creating.
That's awesome. So you mentioned an employee satisfaction index. What is that? How does that work? And how do you utilize that more generally beyond just this one scenario that you just explained?
It's so it's called rethinkculture.co, and the idea is like create a healthier, more fulfilling culture at work, and kind of really goes deep into like all kinds of all the areas of like compensation, communication, etc., etc. It's kind of like almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs of a company. Kind of really drills down, and then like it rates the different areas, and then the guy looks at the survey results and gives you suggestions what you can implement and improve in your business. What's the biggest pain points? And we had like a 93% score, and so yeah, I can highly recommend it. It's super cool to get these insights and know what's going on.
So what if some
can be scary, but
right?
like
Well,
it's like kind of going to a doctor like, hey, I have a lump here.
Let's talk about that. So let's say that somebody has their team take the employee satisfaction assessment, and they score 10% across their team. What do they do next?
I mean, they see like what is. He also gives suggestions like what is low hanging fruit, what can you improve, and what's the most crucial thing to improve. But I'd always be happy to understand where, if I have like a certain disease, or like let's say you stand in front of the forest and you think there may be a monster in there, and you have a flashlight and you're too scared to turn on the flashlight. But like if you turn on the flashlight, you at least see, is there a monster or is there not, and you can whatever, run away, evade, or whatever, kind of like take some action, kind of like acting out of love again versus acting out of fear. Kind of like not going to a doctor is like acting out of fear. Going to a doctor is acting out of love to like make positive changes.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what would be something that would be a positive next action for somebody to take if they don't like the scores that they're getting for employee happiness? I understand that it depends on each company and their situation, but what's kind of a foolproof generic answer of what they can do to improve things, even if you don't know the specifics?
I think one thing is like how we're running our one-on-ones with our direct reports. We always ask them 3 questions. Like first question is like, what's going really well right now? So they can also boast and kind of like give some, kind of positive momentum. The second one is, what is draining you right now? Because like by asking this question, somebody that it often excavates things that are actually not going well right now. And it's good to have a conversation about this. And the third one, how would you rate your performance from 0 to 10 over the last, since we talked last? Because this gives kind of makes like instant feedback, creates these instant feedback loops that the person can say like, oh, I think I performed like a 9 out of 10. And then you can say like, hey, no, actually, I think you're only like a 6 because of X, Y, Z. So it becomes a normal thing to have these feedback loops versus like doing the annual review thing, which I think is completely pointless because I have a hard time remembering what happened, last month. But, so you have like, the instant feedback coaching thingy. And by doing this, I think you connect more, and by asking the questions like what's draining you, you can often figure out like what's kind of shitty right now. And I guess kind of going back to like creating the good culture inside of the business, creating this trust, and then once the trust is there, people happily share. If they know that they can actually tell you what's not right, and then you can have this communication about this and fix it together. And people also, I think once people see that you make the positive, make the changes that are not only good for your wallet as the owner of the business, but like also taking care of them, I think then they see that you actually mean it. For example, in NPS, and I really like the NPS concept. The book, The Ultimate Question by Eric Reichelt. he talks about bad profits. So on bad profits, the idea of a bad profit is, for example, when you are a car rental company, if somebody doesn't fill up the tank, if he doesn't bring it back fueled up, they charge him like 5 extra price of what the gas costs, right? And so it's profitable, but it also really pisses people off. And once you see that you kind of take these things away that actually make you money but are hurting customers or hurting employees, if people really see that you care for them and not just for your pocket, I think then they'll open up and it kind of this positive change is happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. So NPS, that stands for Net Promoter Score. Do you employ that in your companies as well as?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, for sure. Also ENPS, Employee Net Promoter Score. How likely would you recommend somebody to work here at this company? From 0 to 10. It's also a very telling thing if you do this like in the onboarding process, because this also reveals like how good is your onboarding process. So yeah, there's a million and one things that you can do to but it always boils down to create more trust, care for people, do good, create this environment where people do the job out of love and out of fear.
Right.
I think that's kind of like the.
I really liked your questions for the one-on-ones. What's going really well? What's draining you? And how would you rate your performance? I'm curious to hear what's draining you right now, David.
I'm actually pretty good right now. Like, what's draining me? I have like family stuff. A relative like is going through depression, like pretty bad, and this is like kind of draining because I don't know how to really help. It's been going on for years. It's draining because I'm like a very proactive person. Like I like to be not focus on things I can't impact and just focus on like make impact and make stuff happen. But there I'm like I don't really know how to do that. That's kind of draining. And then the other thing that's draining was like I used to always just like put way too much on my plate. Kind of like as you can see, I have that many businesses. Like I was like let's do it all. So I guess that. But somehow I manage.
Yeah. And what are you doing differently these days when you were overwhelmed to the point of maybe it was affecting your health, and now hopefully you're not in that place? What did you change in order to get from there to where you're at now?
I mean, back in the days, I felt bad going to the gym because I thought like, oh, I have so much work to do. I should be in the office, right? And now I know that if I take good care of myself, I just make better decisions. And this is like what the main thing of, I guess, a business owner, founder, leader, or whatever. It's all about like making the right decisions and having like a clear mind to these things. And by the way, I should, that's another thing that we talk about in Love Not Fear, I guess, business operating system or the communications thing. Words are very powerful, from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Your words program yourself and program others. Like not to use words like, oh, we have to do this, or we must do this, or you have to do this. Because have to is always coming from a place of fear. Oh, you must do this. Like versus like, oh, we want to do this because it's going to be really awesome. It's coming from a place of love. Or like trying is always coming from a place of fear. Like, oh, try. If somebody uses the word try, trying is the most inefficient way not to do something. If I'm coming to the States or to Israel, I'm visiting you and say like, hey man, I'm coming to town. Can you pick me up from the airport? And say like, yeah, I'll try. Like, don't worry, I can Uber. It's cool. So every time when somebody in the if somebody says like, could you please do this? Like, yeah, I'll try. I know that they're not. Yeah. There's like questions.
Yeah, I'll try to get this episode launched after we record it.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember some training I got on nonviolent communication, which was developed by Marshall Rosenberg, and something he said that the trainers reiterated that was really powerful. I remember, and that's should is the most violent word in the English language.
Because also, yeah, you should, right? It's also
or I should, that's being violent to myself. Interesting. So, how do you employ intuition into your business decisions, marketing decisions, operational decisions? How do you, in a practical way, incorporate what you get intuitively at the gut level or from kind of guidance from above?
I do it for myself a lot, kind of just like how, if something is not working, as if it's not meant to be, I'm not pushing it, like things, it should just like flow, kind of being, in flow of things. Like if it doesn't really work, like I kind of, okay, it's not meant to be, or, another time, like try it in another way, not be too like,
Try not to force it, yeah. Or not try, you just won't force it.
I used to like kind of have the mentality like I just like run with my head through the wall, and to some degree it works, but it's just like more elegant and less effort and better results if you figure out how you can surf the the wave of whatever is like supposed to be on your path.
The wave of reality, right? So before recording, we were talking about a book that you're reading right or listening to right now. You wanna share the title?
The title is Reality Trend Surfing. It's by a Russian what's it, how they call it? Russian scientist. And it's pretty long. It's like 30 plus hours, but it really reveals like how, I guess to some degree, how the world and how the universe works, and how you can realize or achieve the things that that you want in life. And yeah, even though she's gonna murder me if she hears it, but like I'll share the story anyway. So I met this friend of a friend at a fancy club, and she's a very attractive woman, and like also but super blinged out, like $100,000 watch, like all the bling you can wear. And she came across to me, like the first thing I thought about her was like, she's, I don't know, like gold digger-esque, because also the questions that she asked, like first she sat down looking at my watch, and we talked about cars, and she's like, oh, what kind of cars do you drive? I thought she was just like,
And you were wearing a Rolex
I was
at the
also
time.
wearing a Rolex at the time. Yeah, not my Garmin watch. I just came back from Iran, and so I was like kind of turned off by it, and like kind of put her into this category, which also, this is not the ideal way of treating
You were
people. I was
judging
like,
her.
yeah, I was judging her, putting her into a box. And then she also just like heard that I was in LA, or that I lived in LA. It's like, oh yeah, I was just in LA. Tiffany invited me, and I was like, why did they invite you? Are you in the jewelry business? And she's like, no, I'm just a good customer. And I thought it's just like, I was like super turned off by it, and thought like, she's, I don't know, I guess gold digging or whatever. And then I asked her, so what do you do if you're not in the jewelry business? She's like, yeah, I have my own company, and she's like 150 employees, and she almost makes $1 billion in revenue. Like, no joke. And I was like, I was so mind blown by, looking at something, could have swear or bet the farm that this is blue, and then it's actually green. So completely blew my mind. And I talked with her. She's actually super, super cool. Really super cool person. And she credits her success to that book. Coming like very poor upbringing in Russia, and like also not the ideal background, but she completely crushed it by following this book. And yeah, it's definitely a cool read. Really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah, because you can create your own reality. I mean, you co-create it with the creator, but you have so much more power and influence over this life and all of reality that you're experiencing than
Yes,
you
so
could
the
possibly
concept
imagine.
is like you're on these life paths, and then you kind of like based on your emotions and actions, you can kind of like either go, you surf on these reality, I guess, paths, and then you make decision points, like either go positive or negative.
Yeah. So you have a lot of like infinite timelines to choose from. And by vibrating at a higher frequency, you get invited to a higher vibration timeline.
Yes, or lower if you not. Also, I guess like with
if you're watching horror movies on Netflix every night, then you're going to end up on a lower vibration timeline almost certainly.
yes, I also kind of going back to vibrations and love not fear. I think like love is the highest vibration you can be in, and fear is the lowest vibration you can be in. A state of love or a state of fear. So
yeah, and so when you were first judging this lady, you had this idea of what she was like based on like
outer appearance,
perceptions, and judgments and past evidence of others in your life. So one thing I learned from was this training video on how to do good interviewing, and it was decades old. It was back in the day, it was like a VHS tape, and it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars for this VHS tape on how to conduct interviews, and it was phenomenally good. One of the pieces of advice from that video was to collect contrary evidence. When you're interviewing somebody and you're starting to form an opinion of them, like maybe this person is a renegade or maybe this person is not a team player, then you collect contrary evidence and start asking them for examples, specific examples in their past work where they were a great team player, where they had a really successful outcome, and it was because of their team efforts and not just that person operating on their own. As an example, so if this is a way that you can improve your interviewing skills, it's certainly also a way that you can improve any interpersonal skills. You're in communication with this lady and you're starting to form an opinion. What if you started to collect contrary evidence as this opinion is forming, so that you can see that actually maybe the opposite is more true than the conclusion you're already drawing?
Yep. Yeah. It was definitely mind blowing, and that's a really good tip, actually. Thank you for that.
Yeah, awesome. So I know we're out of time here. I wanted to just to wrap this up, get one last wisdom nugget from you. Yes, it doesn't have to be marketing related. I mean, we didn't really deep dive into marketing. Clearly, you have very successful portfolio of businesses that are doing great marketing, but it was just so fascinating to go down the path we went. But what would be one last wisdom nugget that you'd like to leave our listener with?
I guess to drop some, I guess, or provide some marketing feedback, what works for me. For me, was integration marketing is like the thing that I love the most. Kind of like finding somebody who has the same audience that you have, but you do something differently. Ideally, something that complements each other, and kind of like finding these integration points with them, and can be even they, for example, at TaskDrive, we used to do lead research and sales development reps. This is what we have been offering, and initially, actually, we did only lead research, and if we research leads and then people do the cold outbound, if they don't know how to write proper outbound messages, etc., or they just like spam everybody at once, then they will not get results, and they like come back to us and say like, hey, your leads are not good, even though they are really good. So we partner up with somebody who coaches people on like how to do proper outbound, and this was like just really went hand in hand really well. So kind of like finding this, and he sends us people to do the research for, and we refer them. He does the coaching. Kind of like, so we have these complementary services. So yeah, I think that's.
So look for integration points, upstream or downstream, right? You can have both, right? So somebody who's taking your end product and integrating it into their organization, and somebody that you're integrating into their your offering into your organization.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's just like for example at MaxCDN, we W3 Total Cache is a WordPress caching plugin which was very popular, and we came to him, and he is like not making. I guess he was getting consulting gigs from the plugin, but he was not making any money with the plugin. So we came to him and said like, hey man, how about you build a MaxCDN integration in there, because people are already they download your plugin because they want to make their site faster, and then they could add it to a CDN to make it even faster. So we built this integration. Like, hey, click here, and we auto create a MaxCDN account, and your site is on the CDN. And this was like one of our best lead channels, and we paid him like a boatload of affiliate commission for that. So kind of creating this win-win-win situation. We're winning because we're getting customers. He's winning because he's making affiliate money, and his customers are winning because their site gets faster. So, and this was like in my entire career, this was always like the best thing. Or at UpCoach, we partnered up with Todd Herman, who wrote The Auto Ego Effect. It's a very popular coach, and by having him on board, like we immediately had like trust in the market, like, oh, if Todd's involved, then this must be good. So, or at MaxCDN, we also went to Mashable, and we told them like, hey guys, we give you CDN for free, and we buy a banner on your site. In return, all we want is like our banner that we pay for, and at the bottom, a badge that says like, "Accelerate by MaxCDN." And by having this poster child, we had this deep trust in the market. Often when I pitch people, they say like, "Hey, you can stop pitching. You had me at Mashable. It's cool," because like then the trust is given. Same with like having taught, like the trust is given. I mean, if you're a new player in the market, so I guess kind of falls under the marketing realm as well. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. And something that just pops in my mind, I don't know if you've done this yet with UpCoach, but if you partnered with associations of coaches, for example, the International Association of Professional Life Coaches.
No, we have not. It's on the list actually. Yes.
Do some sort of do some deal with them where they offer a discount to their members for the UpCoach platform, and they get a commission. And I don't know, you just you get some additional marketing and promotion from them, do some co-marketing initiatives and so forth. That seems like a win-win-win to me.
So, and then on Love and Fear, the final,
Awesome.
I just wanted to drop some marketing spice into the marketing podcast that you have, right? The final tip, I guess, for Love and Fear is like my emotions are always like guiding me. If something feels good, I lean in. It's the right thing to do. If something doesn't feel good, I take a step back and think about like, okay, why does it not feel good? Is it because it's the wrong thing? It's against my values, or it's just not right? Or is it something that's outside of my comfort zone? If it's outside of my comfort zone, I can convince myself like, okay, let's switch to love mode and find reasons like why I'm doing this. Is this the right thing? And then it's good. But if it's still doesn't feel good, then it may be not the right thing. So I guess like the emotions are the barometer to pick.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. And if somebody wants to learn from you further, follow you on social media, take your courses, all that sort of stuff, where should we send them to?
You can check out Managing Happiness or lovenotfear.com. And if you want to connect and chat, please connect with me on LinkedIn and say that you heard me talk on Marketing Speak, and then I'll add you. Otherwise, I may not, because I get too many random requests.
Awesome. So managinghappiness.com and lovenotfear.com, and then of course upcoach.com if somebody,
and upcoach.com and taskdraft.com and shortlist.io and
yes, your whole portfolio.
Maybe in the show notes like have a portfolio, you can add the portfolio in the show
LTV
notes.
Plus. Yeah. It's amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David, and thank you, listener. Make it a great week. We'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.